Hello again, Melina.
Hello, Lucas. Great to see you.
Yes, it's a great opportunity to talk with you again, and I think about a really interesting topic. So, what I want to discuss today is, yes, your experience teaching both roles to beginners, which is, yeah, not a standard. So, I'm really interested in how that's working out.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic and also something that has been very important for me for the last couple of years. But I'd like to go back a little bit and tell you how we got to do this. Because when we started teaching tango, we means here Detlef and I together in 2001, we started teaching tango the traditional way. That meant people signed up with their partners and usually danced in the traditional roles. So usually couples together, a man and a woman, the man being the leader, the woman being the follower. There were always, in all these years, even in the beginning, there were leading ladies. From our very first tango classes on, we
Hmm,
already had leading ladies in
that's
our
cool.
classes, but nevertheless, we did not change roles systematically or anything because people would just sign up with their partners, and this was the normal way to go. And also, um, when we started teaching, I would change roles with Detlef during class very early on already, but I would not be leading in milongas, for example. So I would do that in class because it was important for me that I can give sound advice to both partners in the dance. It was important for me to also understand the leading role from the beginning, but nevertheless, that did not bring me so much to actually change roles in milongas, or at least only very, very seldomly. Um, Even in our first teacher trainings, people sign up with their partners. And although we already had the idea that teachers at least should understand both roles, we did not really do it systematically because the people who signed up with their partners, even for the teacher trainings, they had their fixed roles, and there was really not so much time to break apart all of that from the start in the teacher trainings because there was so much else to do. So even in the teacher trainings, people stuck to their roles. But even also in the teacher trainings, we had from the beginning participants who would be dancing both roles. So we always had ladies signing up with another lady to actually do that together with these partners. But these were exceptions. And even though in the encuentros we had leading ladies from the beginning, all of these were just single exceptions. And it was always good to have these exceptions, but we never thought so much about it. For me, all of this started changing around the year 2015 or 16 or so, because then we initiated our first teacher training for single participants. And it was clear that if we want to admit single participants, we cannot match leaders and followers in this teacher training. People will really have to dance both roles because they sign up solo. Um, then I also started in 2016 doing ladies only classes with one of our teacher trainees who was leading a lot, Ramona Steckermeier. And in these ladies only classes, we started introducing leading and following as well, because we did not do the typical ladies classes, with decorations and only practicing pivots. No, wanted to get them into communication. It was not necessarily with the goal of getting all these women to lead, but it was clear, okay, if they want to improve their dance, they need to see it from both sides. Um, and also in these years, we had our first tango intensives, like tango holidays, in which we then started changing roles as a means normally to understand the dance better. Our general goal was not from the beginning to really you know, promote double role dancing, but just to understand dancing better. But then for me, over these years, actually through this work, my my outlook changed, because I saw more and more of our students who were then starting to lead in milongas. And so I started leading much more in milongas around 2018 or so. And so for us, when we then decided after so many years to actually give regular classes in Saarbrücken, our hometown, then, only then, we decided, okay, if we do that, if we do regular classes for beginners again, then they have to do both roles. So this had a whole prehistory. You also have to know that for many, many years, Detlef and I, we were not actually teaching beginners. In the very beginning of our, let's say, tango career from 2001 or 2002 on, we had regular classes in Metz and in 1 or 2 German towns. But then we stopped doing regular classes, and we were only traveling. We were invited to workshops, to festivals, to all kinds of things where we would usually work with more advanced dancers. So we actually did not get the chance to teach beginners for a very, very long time. Only very rarely there would be something of a taster class for beginners in a festival or something like that. But usually we were working with more advanced dancers. So 2019 then, we decided, okay, now after it was 18 years of teaching, after 18 years of teaching, we decided we are going to do classes in our hometown, something that we had not done before, that we had done our teacher trainings where people would be coming from very far. We had once in a while organized a seminar or a boot camp or something like that. But we did not even have a lot of ties to the local dancing community.
But sorry for interrupting you, but how come you didn't set up these beginner classes?
Well, this is a very long story, and I don't want to go into that a lot. But in the beginning, when we started when we started teaching, we were very much, let's say, attacked by local teachers for actually becoming active. We were not even teaching in Saarbrücken in the start. Our first community where we were teaching was in Karlsruhe. But in our home community, we got a lot of, let's say, negative feelings towards us starting teaching. So we decided basically we're never going to teach in our hometown, which we did not do for 18 years.
And why didn't you teach those regular lessons? Like, so I struggle to understand why you never really taught beginners, I guess.
No, we did. From the years of 2001 until 2007 or 8, we gave beginners classes, but not in our hometown.
Okay.
We did this in Metz and 1 or 2 other German cities where we were invited to do that for a tango association, but we did not do it in our hometown.
Okay.
So in these other places where we did beginner classes, as I said, in the years from 2001 to 2007, also there, people just showed up with their partners. And even if there would be sometimes a single person, most likely a single woman, we sometimes popped in the idea, listen, you could maybe also dance with another woman, but women never wanted to do that back then because it seemed something that one would only do if one had to, you know, if there would be a need, because you do not have a proper partner. So then you would have to lead, but there was no positive impact. There was nothing positive connected to leading back then. So we didn't force it. And as I said, only in 2019, when we started teaching classes in our hometown, only then we decided, okay, we are going to teach both roles from the beginning. So this is what we have been doing then for the last 5 years. So for the last 5 years, we have been doing classes, beginners classes and also then classes for people who've been working a little bit longer. And there people register solo or can register solo and will be dancing both roles from the beginning. Still, we do not force people to do so, because sometimes, once in a while, still someone signs up with their partner, usually the typical men-women combinations, and sometimes they want to stay in their role. If they do so, if they sign up with a partner and they don't want to change roles, we still encourage them, but we don't force them to do. But the majority of our students now in Saarbrücken are using both roles in classes. So this was a little bit of a prehistory of how we came to do that. And nowadays, of course, as we are doing this, and as I am now for many years dancing both roles in milongas, when we advertise classes, we point out all the positive factors of dancing both roles. And this is not only nowadays anymore a necessity because you don't have a partner, and also not only with the goal of learning tango better, but really we point out the positive effects of actually being able to dance both roles in the milongas. And for us, this was a huge game changer here, because even though we did not give regular classes for many years in Saarbrücken, we have been organizing milongas in this region for many, many years. For example, on occasion of our teacher trainings or bigger events and stuff like that. And there would be always women sitting around, and there were always very, very few male leaders. And now, only after a very short time actually of teaching both roles actively and systematically in our small milongas, we have never people sitting around and not getting any dances. There's always someone with whom they can dance, and they can enjoy dancing in both roles. And this is, for us, this was a complete game changer for the entire tango community, because even people who were not interested in dancing both roles from the beginning, even some of those people are now starting to explore the other role. And this applies now to more advanced dancers, because of course for our beginners it was normal to learn both roles in the beginning, okay, but many of the more advanced dancers who then came to our classes were still a little bit stuck in their idea. No, I'm a woman, so I want to follow, or I'm a man, I want to lead. But even some of them are now starting to, or have been starting in the last years now, to reconsider. So we now have so many people, so many double rollers here in our community, and it's only a very small community. But I would say at our milongas, I don't know, 50% of the participants will dance both roles. And this changes really everything for us, not only as organizers, but also as dancers. So this is, of course, one of the biggest advantages of teaching both roles to beginners and also then to more advanced dancers, is that you have much more relaxed milongas, that there's the pressure, there's no pressure anymore of these situations where so many people don't get any dancers. So I see that this changed the entire setup of how people feel during the milongas, because as you know, the situation in milongas, if there are more followers than leaders, is not only bad for the followers who are sitting, it's also bad for the leaders who are looked at all the time and who are under an immense pressure to dance all the time and stuff like that. And I think that has gone away actually from our milongas. We don't have that anymore, because there's always someone with whom you can dance, with whom you can enjoy a tanda, no matter their gender. So that's really great.
Yes, and how about the men? So you also get them to catch up?
Yes, I mean it's not so easy. It's not so easy for the guys. In our beginners classes, and this depends a lot because it depends on how the group is composed a little bit. We already had some guys in our classes who really refused to go into the following role, and if they were willing to dance the following role, then they would only change roles with a woman, but they would not want to dance with another guy. We had already situations in our beginners classes that two guys, they stood in front of each other because, you know, we're rotating partners all the time. So they come together with someone and all of a sudden there are two guys standing in front of each other and they have to dance with each other. And there we already had some situations where people started complaining, where people said, no, I don't want to dance with another man. Why should I want to do this? And but who were kind of strict about that. We told them that at least for this tanda, they know how to cope with the situation. And there were also one or two people who complained so much about it that we told them they had better not come to our classes anymore. So we told them, listen, you do not fit into our class concept, because if you don't like changing roles, and this is something we do here, then you would either have to come with a fixed partner or just go to other classes with other teachers, because this is what we do here, at least for all the single dancers. And very often these guys who complained about not wanting to dance with another guy were also the ones who then started complaining about leading women in general, you know, at the milongas, trying to ridicule them or trying to make them look bad. So, but people like this, we actually discourage them to come to our classes or even to our milongas because they don't fit into our setting. If someone wants to learn something from us, at least here in our regular classes, and does not come with a fixed partner, then this person will have to deal with the situation that we change partners. And because we change partners, we change roles. And we don't force anyone to dance both roles in the milongas, but a lot of people eventually will do. The guys, they are still a little bit more hesitant, but some of the guys now also start following in milongas. So it's happening little by little. At least for us, the situation has changed a lot, because in earlier years, when we were still teaching classes, workshops, or even back then beginners classes in France or in other places, you know, we always had to send people away because they needed to come with a partner. And the moment you start changing roles and partners systematically in classes, you can accept single dancers. And this is for me the biggest advantage also as a tango teacher, because I do not have to send anyone away. You know, everyone who wants to learn tango can learn tango. They just have to be willing to change roles and to change partners, and then all is fine. And for me, this makes a super big change, and I think it also makes a big change to tango communities in general, of course.
So, sorry, how come you don't need to pair anymore in these classes? Because ultimately you need two people to dance a tango. So I guess in the lesson, eventually.
Yeah, of course, people will be paired in the lesson with someone, but we rotate partners all the time.
Okay.
So we don't have fixed partners during our classes anymore. Usually we have 4 tangos or a unit of 4 whatever, or a couple of minutes in which 2 people work together, and then we change partners. We rotate partners all the time, and we change roles all the time. And people know that already, that when we have a regular class, we usually count in units of 4 tangos. So usually you stay 4 tangos with the same person, and after 2 tangos, you change roles. So this is normal for people nowadays, and they're used to that. and there are only very few dancers who want to stick to their single partner. As I said, we allow that. If someone comes with a partner, they can dance with their partner in the traditional roles. But many people have adopted this this fact that they can sign up solo, that they can change partners all the time, and they are very happy with changing roles, at least in class. So that's, for me as a dance teacher, that makes all the difference. Also from a monetary perspective, because our classes are always full, you know, we don't have to wait for a woman to find a man to dance with her. She will just show up, and that's great.
Yes, but still you need an even number of people in the class, right? So does that mean you have to turn someone down if there's...
No, because number one, there are always missing people in classes. So even if you have a class where, because we usually have courses of, let's say, 6 to 10 evenings for which people return for a normal course. So even if you have a course for which 12 or 14 or 16 people registered, there will always be someone ill. There always be someone missing. So the fact that we have uneven numbers is something that is not even controllable, at least not if you have longer running classes. For one single workshop, of course, we would try to balance numbers of participants so that we have an even number of them. But for a course, you cannot do that anyway, because there will always be a moment that there is an uneven number of participants. And also, this is not a problem for us. And there we are very lucky, because we always have our teacher trainees, and we even have local teacher trainees. And our local teacher trainees are always with us in our classes. So we at least have one teacher trainee in our classes who will either be there to assist us, walk around, give feedback and whatever, or if there is an uneven number of participants, we'll be able to dance with the participants. So, and actually this applies nowadays to most of our classes worldwide, because we have so many teacher trainees, and there will be a very high probability that we have an assistant in one of our classes. So there's never such a big problem when there's someone who does not have a partner, at least not if that is for a shorter period. So
Yes.
No problem there.
Yes, but essentially, like in general, for your whole course, you would need, at the beginning, you would need an even number of people to...
We try,
Okay.
but if it's not the case, I don't bother so much, because I know that there will be single classes when another uneven number of participants is missing, and then we will be even again. So that's not something I have to worry about. That will regulate itself. And also, you know, if you change partners and roles all the time during a class, the maximum number that someone has to maybe be alone without a partner is for 4 tangos. That is not
okay.
catastrophe.
Yeah.
Either we as teachers can go to them. We won't do that so often, because we still want to walk around and want to have the overview of the class.
Yeah.
But there's always a goal you can give someone for 4 tangos only. It's not the entire class, you know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a really interesting happening, so to say, a really interesting thing to experience and to witness. So do you have any women who don't want to lead? Because we talked about the men who don't want to follow, but I mean traditionally, maybe not nowadays, but I think I've heard before that some women did not really want to lead, because it's like the same thing. I want to do the more feminine stuff, like that kind of attitude.
We had that many years ago. Now not so much anymore. I think this comes from good advertising, because everyone is aware of the situation. That they will lead in class if they do not show up with a partner. So they are prepared to do that. There are, of course, some of the women who might then prefer to follow, you know, but they still will do it without complaining, usually, because they see the benefits coming from it. Even if they don't want to lead in a milonga, they will still feel that they learn more about tango when they at least in class try out the other roles. So usually women are very open to changing roles in class, and also in the milongas, because nowadays it's really incredible, because even some of our students who have been working with us for a very, very long time, and we have some female students, for example, who have been working for us for, well, 15 years or so, a really long time, and they have been followers. But now they start leading now, because they see how much fun the others have in the leading position. So they start doing it as well. So many of our women, and even some of our guys, now start trying out the other role. Of course, many more women than men. And this also comes, of course, from the fact, because the women see me leading. They see me leading at milongas, and I write about that, and I'm a woman, and obviously they have someone who's kind of an example for them. With the guys, it's a little bit different, because Detlef, my teaching partner, he changes roles with me in classes, but he very, very rarely follows at milongas. So guys don't see Detlef following at milongas. They don't have an example to look up to. So that's a little bit of a different situation. Also something that I regret, because I would like to see more guys in the following role, but they need to see other guys who do that. And, and they need to see other guys who do that and do not lose their masculinity or something, they need to see guys who are good dancers and who are appreciated as leaders, and they still choose actively to follow as well. And this is only something that can happen much more slowly. Now we have at our events, at our international events, we have more guys who also follow. So they, little by little, they set an example, but it's not going as fast as with the women.
Yeah, and I guess what you said about the women also took a lot of time to really develop, even like what you said in the beginning, that it took you so many years to really lead socially. I mean, it's like a cultural change, and it needs time.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, although I, even very early when I started dancing tango, I already took a class together with one of my friends as a leader. So I was always interested in leading. And for some years I also did it once in a while in a milonga, but I was not, I don't know, there was no spark yet for me. I saw other women occasionally leading in class in milongas as well, but it was not such a common phenomenon, and I did not feel so much encouraged to do so. It took just many years for me to, and basically, as I said in the beginning, I was encouraged by the fact that so many of my students started leading in milongas. And then I said, okay, if they all are leading, hey, what's holding me back? Why don't I lead more in milongas? And for me, this was also super interesting, because although I was able to lead everything we teach in class, also for me, it took quite a time until I could dance the repertoire that we teach in class also in milongas, because it's very different doing something in maybe in an open practice hold in class in such a laboratory situation than dancing it on the social dance floor. I guess also I cannot still do everything that I teach in class in the milonga, in a social close embrace. So I'm also still developing, but so are the others. And that's a very nice situation, because everyone is developing together,
Yeah, so even if you have so much dance experience like you and teaching experience, you can still keep learning, and in part that's because of the double role.
Exactly. For me, this has been a complete game changer. And I always like to say that for me, learning and also learning tango is a lifelong thing. If I weren't learning new things about tango, the dance, the music, or the teaching, or whatever, all the time, then I would have stopped tango a long time ago, because it would be really boring to just reproduce stuff over and over again. So I need to learn new things, and I learn new things. And one of the things I learn is getting better at leading as well. And I'm in a process there, and I'm happy to be in a process and not to have arrived at some end position that does not even exist. It's
Yes. So in your lessons, do you feel like it's in any way more natural for the guys to lead than for women? Like, I should ask it the other way around. Do they pick it up as easily, like the leading? Because originally, like, it's a man's movement, just as the other way around. That's like the
Nah, I mean, we have already many years ago, we have already felt that it's not so much of a question of gender, but just of different personalities, you know. Even in these early years when we were not changing roles in our classes, Detlef and I sometimes had couples, you know, traditional couples, man, woman, he leading, she following, where we had from the beginning the impression these two would actually get along much better if they would change the roles, you know. But back then we were still too timid or whatever to actually to suggest that. I think that it boils down to certain personality traits you have, you know. Many years ago, in 2001 to 2003, I wrote my psychological thesis, and this was about sex roles in Argentine tango. And it had to do with the personality traits that leaders and followers bring into the dance, you know. And the interesting thing back there was back then was that a lot of women, and because I had a questionnaire that tango dancers filled out back then, that a lot of the women who actually dance tango bring with them the personality traits they need for leading and for following. So actually, after Sandra Bam's questionnaire, that was a scientist in the 80s and 90s, they are called androgynous because they bring highly developed positive personality traits from the feminine and the masculine side with them. So lots of women coming to tango already have these personality traits that allow them to take up leading easily and also have fun with it, because it's no point in doing something if you don't actually enjoy it. But a lot of them actually enjoy it. The problem is, at least back then in 2003, when I did this questionnaire, a lot of the guys who filled out the form, and these were around 80 male tango dancers as well, they scored low on both the female and the masculine personality traits. So they were basically in the undecided spectrum. They did not come with the necessary traits to be a good follower or either a good leader. I would be interested to do this questionnaire once again to check if this has changed. But this maybe also explains why a lot of guys struggle so hard with tango, because it's really connected to who you are and how you relate to other people in other situations as well, and how you actually compose yourself in other situations. So no, again, coming back to your question, and this was a long answer again, sorry. No, I don't think it's so much about women and men. It's about certain personality traits, and there are lots of people who are really good leaders and really bad followers, and they can be either gender. It's really very different.
So you have women too who
yeah
who are probably better as leaders, maybe.
Absolutely. There are some women in our classes, and I can see that already in beginners classes who I already can tell, okay, those would be great leaders, you know, but maybe not so great followers.
Yeah.
And the other way around as well. We had that as well also. It always is then a question, do they continue dancing tango? Because of course, in beginners classes, there are always also a lot of people who will only do this one course and they will not continue. So So we might not always know how they will turn out to be in later stages of their dancing, but I can see that already from the beginning sometimes. And sometimes people are equally suited for both roles, sometimes more for one role, and that's just how it is.
Yes, it's too bad that we don't really like live in a type of social environment where you're just free to choose whatever you're gonna do.
Exactly, and this is what we want to achieve, because again, if someone decides to dance only one role at a milonga, yeah, or at events, that's completely fine by me, but I want them to have a choice in the beginning. I do not want to press women and men into these leading, following stereotypes in the beginning. They need a chance to find out which of the roles they prefer or they like. And maybe it is both, maybe it's only one of the roles, but if at least if they have a chance to find it out, that is already something. I mean, that's for me the most important thing, to give them a chance to find out what they like better. And if they never get that chance, they will only be determined by stereotypes usually. And that's just sad, because they might like the other role much more.
Yes, and for me, like personally, it just feels like I'm always assumed to be just a leader, and it can be a bit difficult to get to follow unless you really know people who are present and you already know them. And like it feels like I'm less enthusiastic about tango if I can only lead, because you're always in the same role doing the same thing. And you're also like you said in the beginning, like you're often put under pressure by women
Yeah.
to dance with you, but I don't always want to, especially not with women who are not really that good at following. Like they don't realize, and I can tell them, but it's just it can be painful if you're like put under this type of pressure by everyone. But
Yeah.
I only really like enjoy with the dancing in the end with the good followers. Like I'm okay with a few tandas that are not that level, but I don't want to dance like that the whole evening. So it's just like for me, it's so fun to be able to follow whenever I can, because then I also enjoy leading more. If I have also had a few songs or a few tandas following, then I also enjoy the leading more. I appreciate being able to lead more. So it's kind of a circular thing that leads to more enthusiasm, like you said, with the keep learning things. Otherwise, I would have quit tango if I, that's what you said. If I
Yeah.
keep, and I'm like the same. Like I want this just to continue the opportunities to learn and to explore. And so
Yeah, exactly.
I have two questions left. So the first question is, do you like in the lessons with the men who are beginners? So have you seen people who kind of refuse to embrace other men first and then got used to it?
Yes, we did that. We do have all combinations. We have the people who are happy with that from the beginning, others who don't like it and refuse it until the end, and others also who get used to it because they see nothing bad is going to happen. Once they have done it, and a lot of people just notice, okay, it's not so bad, we can learn something, and it's fine. It's fine. So yes, people also adapt to that situation because they just feel, okay, this is a class. It's not yet a milonga. In classes it might even be easier because they see, okay, this is a learning situation and we all profit from that. So they are in this learning situation a little bit more open, and yes, even if they have sometimes reservations in the beginning, they might come over it. Not everyone, but some people do. Yes.
Yes. And the other question, so you've had a really good experience doing this locally. And I wonder, are you also trying to apply this to your international workshops or?
Yes, actually, all the time, all the time. Also, I mean, this started also around 2019 or even already 2018. So in all of our seminars, no matter where we are working nowadays, we encourage double role dancing. We always mention it in the beginning. We always write about it when we announce classes, that we encourage it. Usually, if it is a longer seminar, then people will still register with a partner, but this is more to have an even number of participants. But in all of our classes normally nowadays, we always in the beginning have a moment where we split people. We ask people to go to one side who have signed up with a partner and don't want to change roles or don't want to change partners. And then they know, okay, we are the people who are going to stick with our partner. And then we have the other group who change roles and want to change partners maybe even. And then we start changing partners and changing roles for these people. This means, of course, and this is a practical question that every tango teacher has to ask him or herself. This means, of course, that there is now always a little bit more time for practice for each exercise, because we always give the chance to change roles in the couple. It is clear that if an exercise, for example, normally would need 2 tangos in one role, I will now do the exercise for 4 tangos because they want to change roles, because some couples will change roles. The others who do not change roles, they will have a longer time of practicing whatever they are practicing in just this one constellation of one leader and one follower, but they will have more time. But it needs a little bit more time during classes, because you always need to think about the fact that people need still a certain amount of time to do something in one of the roles. No? So it basically doubles the amount of time that you need. But for us, this is fine, because we're working on the quality of the dance and not on the quantity of fancy movements. So that's completely fine of taking that time. But yes, we do this basically in all of our classes and seminars nowadays, everywhere.
So maybe as a short conclusion, so the reason why you do this ultimately as teachers is because the educational value just becomes higher, that people see it from both roles. Is that more or less true?
Yes, you learn a lot more if you see it from both roles. You can actually only understand that dance, in my opinion, when you see it from both roles. And also for me as a teacher, it is just an organizational and a monetary issue. If I double role in classes from the beginning, I can accept everyone who learns tango, who wants to learn tango, and I don't have to count participants to match them up. It's just, it's a no-brainer. It would be really stupid not doing it.
Yes, yes, and the milongas get better.
Everything gets better. I mean, for me, there are almost only advantages. We have not yet come to the disadvantages, though, because there are also disadvantages. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's the video is getting quite long, honestly.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, again, so sorry. Yeah, I just want to talk about that very briefly, and you can decide whether you're going to cut that, because but there are disadvantages. There are disadvantages. And that's not only the guys who are complaining about women. And at our events, we nowadays have guys, and these are usually the dancers who have been dancing for a very long time, but have not been progressing a lot, or let's say have not been changing a lot. And they nowadays get less dancers because many of the women then prefer to dance together, where they can have more fun, even if this other woman with whom they are dancing is also still developing, but they feel that she's developing, she's doing something for her tango. So quite a lot of these guys now start complaining about events where they don't get enough dancers. And this is frustrating for us as organizers as well, because then these people will not sign up for the next event. So it's even harder. It makes it more and more harder for us to get single leaders into events, because at our events, they will not necessarily be the king of the room all the time, even if they have been dancing for 20 years. If they're not developing, it's harder, you know. So from perspective of an organizer, this is of course not so ideal. And there is another point: if you tell beginners, that they can come to classes without a partner and that there's no necessity of bringing someone, then you will lose all the guys who have been, let's say, forced into tango by their partners. And these guys later on still can become enthusiastic tango dancers, but they might not even try tango because their partner knows, okay, I can go to this tango class on my own. I don't need you there, you know? So these guys won't come to tango. And this is of course a pity, and I have not yet found a way to solve this problem, because we cannot, when we don't force these guys to come, you know, they might not ever discover tango as it is, and they might not learn to love it. So this is one really practical downside of teaching both roles from the beginning and allowing people to register solo. You will miss these guys.
Yes, but you still have other schools, right? Just doing the traditional thing.
Of course, we still have those, and hopefully these women then will force their partners to to go into one of these classes, but in our classes they don't have to. Okay.
Yes. So is there any like approximation of how many guys were forced into tango by their partners?
No, I don't know. I mean, actually, I don't know. But for me, it seems in the beginning it must be a lot. It must be a lot.
Okay.
Because if I see all these women really enthusiastic about dancing and registering for tango classes, and you know, I just have to guess that there are a lot of guys who are not so very much enthusiastic about it. So because in our beginners class, we have many more women than men. And that doesn't pose a problem for us, not at the milongas, not at the classes. But it does not solve the problem of getting more guys to dance.
It's like lost potential maybe.
Exactly. And but this is a question I cannot answer. You know, this is a problem that we will have to tackle in a completely different way. That might not have anything to do with the double row dancing or whatever. For me, this is a question that comes from our society and how much dance is valued for guys in societies. As long as young boys are still sent to do football by their parents and not to dance classes, you know, how do you expect to get grown-up men to come to dance classes later? Because for them, sports will still be much more of a manly thing to do, because this is what society and their parents have told them. So this is something where society will have to change a little bit. If you want to have men dancing, then you need to get the boys to dance, actually.
Yes, but have you seen guys who were forced into tango, kind of, by their partners, who actually became really ambitious, independent dancers later?
Yeah, I guess quite a few.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not necessarily the guys who already came into the dance. Okay,
No.
okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, I'll just gonna leave it at this, but I thought it was a really interesting conversation.
Maybe that's just one last thing I want to say, because from all the, let's say, advantages as an organizer and advantages as a teacher or for the learning process, I think I want to close on a comment that the most important thing is to have fun. And for me, the double rolling, it just contributes to my happiness in tango. And because I can live out a part of my personality that will not be used that much if I'm, let's say, only following. I need to lead, because this is a part of my personality, and this is why it makes so much fun. This is why it's so much fun for me. And I just want to have people have more fun in tango, you know. It's really about being happy about enjoying tango. And this is one reason why I want to do that, because I see it brings people to enjoy tango more. So
Yes. Well, thank you for all your interesting comments today, and I hope to speak to you again soon. And
thank you so much, Lucas.
so for anyone listening to this, I'll put a link in the description to your double roll event in January.
Yes, where you
Because
can also meet Lucas.
yes, because I'm DJing at the after party there. So
Exactly.
I think it will be like people who have listened to all this with a certain level of interest. I think this event would be suited for you.
Absolutely.
And yes, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. But it's also really interesting to talk about these things verbally, like we did today, and spread the message of why this is mostly a good thing, right? So
Yes.
I love it. Thank you, and
Thank you so
speak to you
much.
another time.
Thank you.